Picture a quiet room where nobody wants to speak first. People look around. They smile politely. They wait for someone else to say the first word. Then one person makes a small joke, asks a simple question, or says something easy. And suddenly, the whole room changes. That is what we mean when we say someone breaks the ice. It sounds friendly now, almost harmless. But if you stop and picture the words, the image is not soft at all. Break the ice. That sounds physical. Cold. Heavy. Like something solid is blocking the way, and someone has to crack it open before anything can move. So how did an image of breaking ice become a normal way to talk about starting a conversation? I'm Earl, the creator of Everyday Sayings and Origins. To keep each episode consistent, I use my digital likeness. Now, back to the story. Today, break the ice usually means to ease tension or make communication easier. If a group feels awkward, someone might tell a joke. If two people do not know what to say, one person might ask a simple question. If a meeting feels stiff, someone might make a light comment to get people comfortable. That is breaking the ice. The phrase works because awkwardness can feel like a real barrier. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it, but you can feel it. A room can feel frozen before anyone speaks. The silence gets heavier. People become careful. The longer nobody talks, the harder it feels to begin. Then one person says something. Not always something brilliant, not always something funny, just something. And once the first words are out, the moment changes. That is why the image works. Ice blocks movement, awkwardness blocks conversation, break the ice, and people can move again. But the phrase did not begin as a party game or a meeting exercise. Its older meaning was much more literal. Before modern roads, engines, and easy travel, ice could stop people and goods from moving. A frozen river was not just pretty scenery, it could be a serious barrier. Ships could not pass, trade could slow down, travel could become dangerous or impossible. In places where water routes mattered, ice was more than weather. It was an obstacle, so people needed ways to break through it. Ships built or used to break ice could open a path for others. One vessel would push through the frozen surface. The ice would crack. A route would open, then other ships could follow. That older picture seems to be at the heart of the phrase. Before, breaking the ice meant easing social tension, it meant clearing a path through something frozen and difficult. Once you see that, the modern meaning makes sense. A conversation can have its own frozen surface. No one wants to be first. No one wants to say the wrong thing. No one knows how the other person will react, so the silence hardens. Then one person makes the first move, a greeting, a question, a joke, a small comment, and the frozen feeling cracks. That is the bridge between the literal meaning and the social one. The phrase moved from water to people, from ships to speech, from opening a path through ice to opening a path through awkwardness. English does this all the time. It takes physical images and uses them for emotional situations. We say someone is under pressure. We say a plan fell apart. We say a person opened up. Most of the time, those phrases are not literal, but they feel right. Break the ice works the same way. It turns a social problem into something you can picture. The problem becomes ice. The first words become the crack. The conversation becomes open water. That is why the phrase feels natural, even if you never think about frozen rivers or ships. You understand the feeling. You have felt a room go stiff. You have felt people hold back. You have felt the relief when someone finally says something that lets everyone breathe. That small relief is the whole phrase. There is also a reason the word break matters. Ice does not move because someone wishes it would. Someone has to apply pressure. Someone has to go first. Someone has to risk being the one who makes the first sound. That is true in conversation too. The first person to speak takes a small risk. Maybe the joke will not land. Maybe the question will feel awkward. Maybe nobody will answer. But without that first move, nothing changes. That is why people often remember the person who breaks the ice. They create the opening. They make it easier for everyone else. In a way, they do what an ice-breaking ship does. They go first through the hard part, then others can follow. That is why the phrase became so useful in social life. It describes a small act that can change the mood of a group. A room does not always need a speech. It does not need someone to perform. It just needs an opening. Sometimes the opening is simple. How does everyone know each other? Has anyone tried the food yet? Is it just me, or is this room too quiet? Those lines are not important because they are clever. They are important because they start movement. Once someone admits the silence loses some power. People laugh. Someone answers. A second person joins in. then the conversation is no longer frozen. The phrase also survives because it fits many situations. It can happen at work, it can happen in school, it can happen at a party, it can happen between neighbors, strangers, co-workers, or people meeting for the first time. Anytime tension blocks communication, the phrase fits. That flexibility helps old expressions last. If a phrase only works in one narrow setting, it can fade when that setting changes. But if the image keeps fitting new moments, people keep using it. Break the Ice made that jump very well. Most people today are not dealing with frozen shipping routes, but people still deal with frozen conversations. They still know what it feels like when nobody wants to begin. There's another reason the phrase works so well. Ice is cold, comfort, friendship, and welcome are often described as warm. We talk about a warm smile, a warm welcome, a cold room, a cold response, a chilly silence. So when we say break the ice, we are not only talking about movement, we are also talking about warmth returning. The frozen feeling starts to give way. The room becomes easier to sit in. People become less guarded. The phrase does more than mean start talking. It means change the atmosphere, move the moment from stiff to relaxed, move people from careful to open, move the room from cold to warm. That is why break the ice became tied to introductions. At the beginning of a conversation, people are still reading each other. They do not know what is safe to say. They do not know who will laugh. They do not know where the boundaries are. A good icebreaker gives people a low-risk way in. It does not demand too much. It does not force deep honesty. It gives people something simple to answer. That is why short questions often work better than big ones. A good icebreaker is not trying to create instant friendship. It is only trying to make the first crack. But there is a reason some icebreakers feel uncomfortable. If the first move feels fake, forced, or too personal, it can make the room feel worse. Everyone has felt that too. A group of adults being told to share a fun fact can sometimes feel less natural, not more. That is because real icebreaking depends on timing. The first move has to match the room. Too little and nothing changes. Too much and people pull back. A good icebreaker is usually simple, human, and easy to respond to. That is why the phrase remains useful. It does not promise that the first words will create a deep connection. It only says the first barrier has been cracked. What happens after that still depends on the people in the room. There is a quiet social truth inside the phrase. Most conversations do not fail because people have nothing to say. They fail because someone has to go first. That first step can feel bigger than it looks. Once one person speaks, others often follow. Once one person laughs, others relax. Once one person admits the moment is awkward, the awkwardness becomes shared instead of private. That is the real power of breaking the ice. It gives everyone permission to stop waiting, and that may be why the phrase has lasted so well. It describes a problem that never really goes away. No matter how modern life gets, people still meet strangers. They still enter rooms where they do not know the mood. They still need a way to begin. Technology has not removed that. It has only moved the awkwardness into new places. Now people break the ice in video calls. They break the ice in group chats. They break the ice in emails, comments, messages, and online meetings. A blank screen can feel just as frozen as a quiet room. Someone still has to begin. That is why the old image continues to work. The setting changes, the feeling stays the same. A frozen river and an awkward meeting may look nothing alike, but both have the same problem. Nothing moves until something breaks the surface. So why do we say break the ice? Because ice once represented a real barrier that had to be cracked open before movement could continue. Over time, that image became a way to describe social tension, awkward silence, and the difficult first step in communication. When someone breaks the ice, they clear a path, not through frozen water, through hesitation, through silence, through that uncomfortable moment before people know what to say. The phrase survived because everyone knows that feeling. The room is quiet. The mood is stiff. The first words feel harder than they should. Then someone says something simple. The pressure drops. The silence cracks. And the conversation finally starts to move. If you enjoyed discovering the story behind this everyday saying, subscribe to Everyday Sayings and Origins. Each episode uncovers the hidden history behind the words, phrases, rhymes, and traditions we use without thinking. I'm Earl. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next origin. Peace.